Hello everyone, my name is Bianca Rebecca Pastor and today's assignment is about climate change and sustainability of logistics industry. And I'm gonna talk about introduction now. So climate change has become one of the biggest global challenges affecting businesses today. It's no longer just an environment issue, but also a serious economic and operational concern. In the logistic industry, the impact is especially significant because it depends heavily on transport system, infrastructures, and energy use. Extreme weather events such as the floods, heat waves, and storms are becoming more frequent, and those can disturb supply chains, delay deliveries, and increase operational costs. At the same time, logistics is also a major contributor to carbon emission through road, air, and the sea transport. This creates a dual challenges for the industry. Is it both affected by climate change and also contributing to? Because of this, sustainability in logistics has become very important. Companies are now under pressure to reduce emission, improve efficiency, and adopt greener supply chain practices. In this part of the assignment, we're going to look at how climate change affects logistics and what organization can do to become more sustainable and resilient. Thank you, and I'm going to pass to my next colleague.
Thank you, Bianca. Appreciate it. My name is Daniela. Hello, everyone. And I will continue this presentation with the impact of climate change on the logistics industry, a rather significant area of sustainability and the backbone of global trade, moving commodities through enormous transportation networks and coordinated supply chains. This network and supply chain dependency, however, makes it very sensitive to climate change. Floods, hurricanes, and heat waves have grown more frequent in the last decade, while an increasing body of law and regulations and decarbonization aspirations and have started to put extra pressure on businesses. The next slides cover physical supply chain disruptions, transition and liability risks, and their impact on the operational performance, costs, and long-term resilience of companies. Physical risks are the most immediate climate-related challenge for the logistics industry. Flooding, storms, heat waves, and rising sea levels have damaged roads, railways, ports, and warehouses in the last decade, leading to costly delays and operational disruption. Globally, more than 1.4 million kilometers of roads and 111,000 kilometers of railways were exposed to flooding, according to Cox et al. In 2019. At the same time, around 80% of world trade is transported by sea, increasing the vulnerability of ports to climate impacts, according to UNCTAD in 2024. As a result, companies such as Royal Mail and DP World are investing in resilient infrastructure in climate adaptation strategies, according to both companies in 2024. When it comes to transition risks, this arises from the global shift towards a low carbon economy. Governments have introduced stricter emissions regulations, while customers and investors increasingly expect sustainable business practices. For logistics companies, this means investment in low emission fleets, renewable fuels, and new technologies. DHL has planned to invest 7 billion euros by 2030 in sustainable logistics, while FedEx has committed $2 billion towards carbon neutral operations by 2040, according to both companies in 2024. Although transition risks have increased costs, they also created opportunities for innovation and long-term competitiveness, as consumers who prefer companies demonstrating strong environmental performance have increased to more than 70%, according to PwC in 2024. Last but not least, liability risks transpire when organizations fail to manage or disclose climate-related risks effectively. Since 2015, climate litigation has increased significantly, with more than 2,900 climate-related legal cases recorded globally, according to Grantham Research Institute in 2025. At the same time, regulations such as the CSRD and IFRS sustainability disclosure standards require greater transparency in climate reporting. Logistics companies such as DB Schenker and FedEx are strengthening ECG's governance and climate disclosure to reduce legal, financial, and reputational risks while maintaining stakeholder confidence, according to both companies in 2024. As this concludes the impact of climate change on logistics industry on my side, I will now pass the presentation to my colleague Marta.
Thank you, Daniela. My name is Marta. In this section, I examine how the UK logistics industry has responded to climate change over the past decade, using DPD, Amazon, and Royal Mail as our main examples. The starting point is that the boom in online shopping has been brilliant for convenience, but it has also turned parcels delivery into one of the fastest growing sources of road transport emission in the country. The last mile is the worst part. Van stopping and starting through congested towns and cities burn a lot of fuel and pump out pollutants exactly where people live, as Amazon also sustainability reporting acknowledges. Because of that pressure, the biggest operators have not stood still. Over roughly 10 years, they have moved away from diesel and towards electric fleets, renewable electricity, and net zero targets that are checked by independent bodies. Crucially, this is not just Godwin. Companies are lining their strategies up with the UK's legally binding commitment to reach net zero by 2050, which is the thread that runs through everything in the next few slides. Before looking at the companies, it helps to understand the rules they are operating under, because corporate action does not happen in the vacuum. At the international level, the 2000 Paris Agreement is the answer. It commits countries to keeping global warming well below 2 degrees, and that target flows down into national law. The UK responded by becoming the first major economy to make net zero by 2050, legally binding, amending the Climate Change Act in 2019. The single change reshaped expectations for every polluting sector. Progress is policed through 5 yearly carbon budgets, and the sixth carbon budget in 2021 was significant for logistics because for the first time it counted the UK's shares of aviation and shipping emissions. Finally, practical mechanism to the enforcing. The UK emission trading scheme puts a price on the carbon and streamline energy and carbon reporting forces large companies to publish their emissions. So the film we are about to discuss are being pushed, not just choosing to act. Now the concrete action, and here are three examples really come to life. Amazon co-founded the Climate Pledge back in 2019, committing to net zero by 2040, 10 years ahead of the Paris timetable. In the UK specifically, it has invested £300 million in transport, but more than 160 electric heavy goods vehicles on the road, and made over 150 million deliveries by electric van and e-cargo bike since 2022. TPD's flagship is Vision 25, delivering with zero emission in 25 UK towns and cities, backed by £111 million of electric vehicles. Oxford became its first fully electric city, and importantly, its 2040 net zero target is validated by the Science Based Targets Initiative, so it is independently checked. Royal Mail Steps to Zero plan also targets net zero by 2040. It's already runs the UK's largest electric van fleet, around 7,000 vans, and its unique fleet on the street. Model Plus biofuel has cut emission to 165 grams of CO2 per parcel. The common pattern is clear. Electrify the fleet, switch to renewable energy, redesign the network, and submit to science-based targets. Finally, how have industry competitors and partners responded? And the answer is that pressure in the sector is contagious. On the partner side, Amazon vehicle suppliers Rivian, Mercedes-Benz, and Volta Trucks have not just sold vehicles, they have signed the climate pledge themselves and developed purpose-built electric trucks and vans which spread the carbonization up the supply chain. On the competitor side, DPD's parent company Geopost became the first parcel delivery business to have both its near-term and long-term 2040 net zero targets validated by the Science Based Target Initiative which raised the bar for everyone else. Royal Mail, meanwhile, turned sustainability into a marketing weapon, openly claiming to be the UK's greenest delivery option and benchmarking itself against competitors published emissions per parcel. So we see three responses feeding each other. Electrifying fleets, adopting independently verified science-based targets, and competing on the genuinely greener last mile. Taken together, the last decade shows the logistics industry transformed by the combination of binding government policy and fierce competitive pressure. And that is the link back to the national and international climate framework we began with. Now I give a voice to my friend Christina. Thank you.
Thank you, Marta. For the next decade, the main challenge is not only higher temperatures, but also more unpredictable logistics operations. The Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change states that the climate risks increase as global temperatures continue to rise, while the UK Met Office projection shows that the UK is likely to experience hotter summers, wetter winters, and rising sea levels. As Daniela explained this previously, for the logistics industry, this means more heat affecting drivers and warehouses, increased flooding around and depots and ports, and greater disruptions to road, rail, and coastal transport. The heat waves may reduce driver productivity, increase cooling requirements in warehouses, and create safety risks for employees. As a result, deliveries may be delayed and operational costs may increase. This is important because logistics companies depend on providing reliable services such as next-day delivery, product availability, and predictable delivery times. Climate change also can create wider supply chain disruptions. Weather-related events in other countries can affect imported goods, leading to shortages, delays, and increased transport costs. It is also a strategic challenge because domestic transport produced 111.8 mt CO2e in 2023, accounting for 29% of UK domestic emissions. This also reflects the wider international commitment under the Paris Agreement, which aims to limit global warming to well below 2 Celsius, while pursuing efforts to limit to 1.5 Celsius. From a management perspective, logistics firms must balance two priorities: maintaining reliable services by reducing carbon emissions. This means climate change is no longer only an environmental issue, it has become a business risk that directly affects profitability, customer satisfaction, and long-term competitiveness. Regarding the options for the next decade, the recommended approach is to treat climate change as both an adaptation and a transition challenge. First, companies should identify climate risks to key depots, transport routes, and suppliers, and develop contingency plans. This supports the UK government transport adaptation strategy, which highlights that adaptation planning across the transport sector is still incomplete. This approach also supports the goals of the Paris Agreement, which encourages governments and industries to reduce greenhouse gas emissions while improving resilience to climate change. Second, companies should introduce electric vehicles where they are most practical, such as for urban deliveries, depot-based operations, and regular transport routes. For long-distance freight, managers should use a range of solutions, including rail transport where possible, improving vehicle loading, use alternative fuels as a short-term option, and testing zero-emissions heavy goods vehicles. According to the Department for Transport's new non-zero emissions HGVs up to 26 tons will be phased out by 2035, with heavier HGVs following by 2040. Finally, companies should combine carbon reduction with business resilience. Contracts, purchasing decisions, and performance reporting should reward reliable low-carbon logistics instead of focusing only on the lowest short-term cost. As highlighted by the Government Office for Science, building a resilient and low-carbon transport system will be essential for the future of the UK's logistics industry. Company examples show how logistics businesses are responding to climate change. DPD UK reported using over 3,800 electric vehicles, which now make up more than 35% of its final mile delivery fleet. DHL Group aims to use 30% sustainable aviation fuel by 2030 and have more than 66 electric vehicles for first and last mile deliveries. Amazon UK, reported by Reuters and Guardian, is investing in electric HGVs, rail transport, and low emissions delivery options. Although these examples show good progress, they do not remove all emissions or climate risks. The key lesson for managers is to combine clear sustainability targets with practical actions such as improving route planning, investing in charging infrastructure, working closely with suppliers, and planning for climate risks. Companies that can reduce emissions while maintaining reliable services will be better prepared for the future. In simple terms, the winning logistic companies will be those that can provide both lower emissions and more reliable services under extreme weather. From the next section, Viral will continue and talk about the sustainability of the logistic industry and reporting frameworks. Thank you.
Thank you, Vera. And now, in conclusion, climate change has a clear and growing impact on the logistic industry. It increases risks such as delivery delays, damaged infrastructures, and higher operating costs. Those issues reduce the reliability and efficiency that logistics systems depend on. However, it also pushes the industry towards innovation and improvement. Many companies are now investing in cleaner technologies, renewable energies, and smarter supply chains, planning to reduce their environmental impact. Overall, the key point in that sustainability is no longer operational in logistics. It has become a core part of business strategy. Companies that adapt early and integrate sustainability into their operation will be more resilient and better prepared for future climate related challenges. Now, to improve sustainability in the logistic industry, several key actions are recommended. Firstly, companies should invest in green transport solutions such as electric vehicles, alternative fuels, and more fuel efficient technologies that helps reduce carbon emission from transportation. Secondly, businesses need to improve supply chain resilience. This means preparing for disruption by diversifying supplying, improving infrastructures, and developing strong risk management plans. Thirdly, digital tools like artificial intelligence and data analysis should be used to optimize routes and reduce unnecessary fuel consumption. This improves both efficiency and sustainability. Another important step is increasing the use of renewable energy in warehouses and distribution centers, which helps reduce reliance and fossil fuels. Finally, companies should continuously measure and report their carbon emissions so they can track progress and improve over time. Okay, so overall, these strategies helps logistic companies become more sustainable, efficient, and resilient in the face of climate change. Thank you for today, and I hope you enjoy it.